Hello. Hey, Brandy. It has been a week. Oh my gosh. Um, what do you guys have going on that's made it a bad week? Tell me, tell me. I am looking for something in particular. Oh, it's there. It's there. It's there. How's everybody doing? I am looking to see if my new book is active. Hey, Bruce. I knew you'd be here. You never miss. You and Brandy are always here. Hey, Joey, how's it going? Zuri, that's funny. The weather in Texas is nice now. I just saw a post from a friend that he's mowing his lawn today. Snow one day and mowing the next. Hi, Karen. Hey, Joe. That's the stop you in the tracks moment. When you get informed, reach out. Hey, Jesse. Looking forward to meeting with you early in March. Oh, awesome. If you early March. That's just around the corner. I was gonna say if you're on the waiting list. Um, yeah, Brandy's from Montana as well. I gotta tell you guys, Montana is like crazy. I have a lot of people in Montana that I meet with. And I would show you my map behind me because on my map, I pin all my clients and where they're at. And I have not pinned anybody in a few months. Um, and when I say a few months, maybe 6. And so I need to go back and pin everybody. But I have Montana's getting full. Not like full, but fuller than most states. So it's fun. It's fun. I just got a new client in Montana today. So that is cool. We might have to have if COVID ever goes away, we might have to have a Montana. I'll be in Montana visiting. That was a plan. When I was going to do farm finance conferences and I was going to meet with all of you guys and just do a seminar, Montana was on the list. Even though I could drive for miles and be nowhere in Montana, we were going to try to centralize it. And then COVID. No, I don't want the snow, Bruce. You can send the rain, but I don't want the snow. Okay, you guys. I was just looking, um, and I'm going to pin this in the comments, and I hope it's good. I have no patience. No patience, and thank God for all of my people that work with me and put up with me. So I see that the Life Without the Bank book is ready to be purchased on my other website, Without the Bank. And so I'm going to share that, but I know he was testing it today, and I probably shouldn't share it and do that, but I'm gonna. Maybe I won't. Anyway, it's gonna be up in a few days. I know it, I know it, I know it. Okay, so those of you that, hey Heidi, those of you that are new, and you're just listening, because I know there are some of you that are new and just listening. I am the author of the book Farming Without the Bank, and now Life Without the Bank, Life Without the Bank. I always want to call it, or Wall Street. I am the author of these two banks, and so what you are going to hear tonight is clients that I have met with over the last week, what we've talked about, some ideas of how they can get out of the banking system and start their own bank, what they're doing on their farm operations, and just some strategies that I've thrown at them to get the whole Farming Without the Bank implemented. I am not going to go over Farming Without the Bank. So if you want to know more, go to farmingwithoutthebank.com and you can grab the book. It is also in audio. If you do that, also grab Becoming Your Own Banker. This is the Bible of the concept that I teach. You are going to want this one. This was written by R. Nelson Nash. Both of these together are phenomenal. So make sure that you are getting both of them. Let's get started. Okay, I met with a gentleman this week and this is not an uncommon situation. So pay attention, people. I met with a gentleman this week that is divorced. Meet with people all the time that are divorced, right? But what is different with this situation is when I meet with somebody that is divorced, typically they lose the farm. Why? Because they have to buy out the spouse. This gentleman, same situation, has to buy out the spouse, had a settlement. But what was crazy is he wanted to sell his cattle to get out of, to not have to have that bill. But FSA wrapped his cows and his land together and would not let him sell one without the other. Now, I have never heard of that before, and I don't know why that would be. He wasn't quite sure what the whole thing was there. And so now he's got this personal loan that he gets to, I don't know what's with, sorry. He gets this personal loan that he gets to now pay for, I don't know, it was like 15 years or something like that, to keep, just so he could keep his land. Obviously, he kept the cows as well because he couldn't sell them separately. The moral of this story is pay attention to what is going on with the bank. As I told him, and as I have told you all before, and I have a t-shirt that says it, God created you to be a farmer, or God created you to be a rancher, not a bookkeeper. Okay, so if you have somebody else doing your books, pay attention to those books. If you have somebody else that is, or if you have a bank that is doing stuff and you don't understand, don't be scared to ask questions. And this is what I see a lot, is that we don't want to question the bank for fear that they're not going to allow us to do something. Who gives a crap? They need you as much as you need them. Because guess what? They don't have a bank if they're not lending money. So they need you. And if they are in the business of farming, they need you. So don't be concerned about asking questions. Why is that loan tied like that? Why are you refinancing that way? And I talked about this a couple weeks ago. When we're refinancing and putting cattle and equipment together, it drives me bonkers. So, and that wasn't the case here, but pay attention to what they're doing and don't be scared to ask questions. The other thing in this situation, and it was one of my favorite meetings of the week. Truly, it was. I met with some very wealthy individuals, but this was one of my favorite meetings. Why? Because we got to brainstorm about stuff he can do. Can he sell equipment? Can he have people helping him? All stuff that maybe he was doing before with his spouse, but now he's alone and has nobody to bounce those ideas off of. I had 2 meetings like that this week that we were brainstorming in the meeting, and I was the outlet for how to help, where to go, give ideas, those sort of things. And the other lady that I met with, a single lady who is just getting started as well. And she's doing some grass-fed beef stuff, and she's got some land that she inherited, so she's renting that out. But guess what? The person renting it did not care about the nutrients of the soil and has kind of destroyed the land in the last 5 years or 6 years. And she is paying attention to that and she wants that fixed. So now trying to figure out how to get a tenant in there that cares about that, that wants to do it her way, because the other tenant didn't really care. And she didn't know where to go and she wasn't familiar with all these options, right? Because a lot of times the things I'm strategizing, you cannot find on Google. You cannot Google farm strategies, and there they are. And so, and this is just from my experience talking to thousands of farmers to say these are some of the things I've heard of, or these are some of the things that other people are doing that are working. And she was so thankful for that advice. Another one of these two were seriously all my meetings are favorite, but when I can really encourage somebody and help them when they're stuck and they get excited about it, it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I loved it. So many people already are on the right track, and I'm just kind of saying, yep, you're good. This is what we can do. We're just missing one little step. And a lot of people are just missing the one little step of life insurance. And so yes, I'm giving strategies and all that kind of stuff, but when I can bring you up and kind of get you out of the gutter, that's fun. That's fun. If you want to be taken out of the gutter, right? If you continue to be negative and him and Han and poor me, that's not fun. That's not fun, and I don't last long to be nice. Because we are talking about strategies and we need to implement those strategies. Okay? So 2 meetings where 2 single people needed somebody to bounce ideas off of. And we need to find that outlet. We can't do business ourselves. I can't do it myself. I have colleagues that I lean on and say, oh my God, this is what happened today, or I got this client, what do I do with them? Or just call to chit chat, right? What did you learn today? And sharing knowledge and making us better. Last week, we were supposed to have our annual think tank, and we did not. We had to have it virtual. That's where hundreds of infinite banking practitioners get together. Guess what? We didn't. It was awful for me. Awful. I look forward to that every single year. That's where I get inspiration. That's where I see what everybody's doing. It's no different in the farm world. If you aren't going to seminars and things that groups of people, like-minded people, are going to, that's hard because we stay stagnant. If you can, even if you got to go to the neighbors and have a beer, like, who cares? Get some inspiration, see what people are doing, and not the neighbor that's going to complain about commodity prices and how hard it is. The neighbor who's actually doing something, and you guys are going to be able to do some problem solving. You're going to be able to get some knowledge from that person. We don't need to hang around negative Nellies. Not necessary. We need to get inspired. Okay. Jesse, I do. Yep, you can get Nelson's book on farming without the bank. Absolutely. All right, let's see. I got a message from my marketing guy. Okay, we can go to, you guys can go to withoutthebank.com and you can grab Life Without the Bank. You cannot get them as a bundle yet. I don't see that on there, but you can get Life Without the Bank there. So, it's ready. Okay, next couple. Oh, this was a hard meeting. This one was hard. This guy is he's in his I don't remember how old he is, late 30s, and he is farming with dad and uncle. And it is not roses. Let's just say that. It is not roses. And dad is kind of the peacekeeper and he won't really say anything. And the crazy thing is it's not a corporation. Dad and the uncles just buy stuff together. They just have land together personally. Nothing is a corporation. Nothing is set up. There is zero estate planning. Everything should just work out as is. We all know that's not going to happen. And the son is not, the client I met with, is not getting paid. He is getting equipment in exchange for getting paid. He does have some of his own land that he is farming. The equipment is so old, he cannot farm his ground the way he wants to. One of the uncles does not like this, that he's got his own stuff and going out on his own, because he likes to have control of everything. And so they're really in a situation where, is it worth it to stay there and work for free? But we don't know if it's free. Because I asked them, well, if you had to lease or rent that equipment, or if you had to have somebody come in and custom farm that, what would that cost? Because essentially, if you're doing that in exchange for the equipment, you're not working for free, you're working in exchange. So what's that cost? And they had not run those numbers. So we can't really say we're working for free until we know the numbers. But he wants to farm in a different manner, right? He wants to do some cover crops. He wants to do some very different things that dad and the uncles aren't doing. And how do we do that unless we break away or say, you know what, I'm having someone come in to custom do it. I will lease equipment. I will rent equipment. I will work with the neighbor to get their equipment. There are many ways to do it. And there are times, and it's hard, and I've had 4 clients do it, just walk away. They just say, you know what? Here we go. I am done. If you don't want to progress, if you want to control me, I am done. And they're in a situation where eventually they're going to have to do that. And they've known this for years. Now, they are not entitled brats. Okay. Like I can spot an entitled brat pretty quickly because I've met with enough people. I can see which millennial, which mid 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds are somewhat entitled, right? In this situation, it's not about being entitled. It's about working all day, every day for the use of equipment for a few hundred acres, not getting paid, and having zero at the end. Zero. Because if dad passes first, mom doesn't even want to deal with the brothers. That is not a good situation. What's great is he started going on his own and he's got some of his own stuff. Now it's a matter of teaming up with some neighbors or somebody that's got the equipment so he doesn't necessarily have to buy the equipment to go into debt. You guys hear me say that all the time too. The only ones getting rich are John Deere and Case IH because everybody thinks that they need their own piece of equipment. And when we're farming a few hundred acres, do we really need our own piece of equipment? I'm going to say probably not, unless you can't find a neighbor to do it with. But in some cases, do we really need it, or can the neighbor and I work together so that we are sharing equipment, or you're leasing it from him, or you're paying him to come do it? Okay, you know who's farming well and who's not. It is a matter of you're starting small. Let's be wise about that. Bad situation. And hopefully it ends. Him and his dad get along great, but dad's scared to leave as well. That says a lot. We can't be living on a hope and a prayer in some of these situations. If we know they're going to get ugly, we need to figure it out. All right, what else we got here? I had a meeting with a couple other guys that do not farm but have lots of businesses. They do have some cattle, but they're not actively farming. They basically buy them and have somebody else feed them out, and but they have lots of other businesses. And the son has a policy that was set up for infinite banking by a practitioner that is not certified. Way too big. Way too big. If nothing irritates me more, it is when agents think that they are going to put all this money into a policy and make a bunch of commission. The guy had $100,000 in savings. So what do? They write a policy for like $75,000 of premium. He has $100,000 in savings. That means he's got to pay $75,000 a year. Oh, but it's flexible. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, it's flexible with this particular company. It's flexible to an extent. If you don't pay it every 3 years, it goes bye-bye. No, that's not flexibility. This is particularly why I don't write with that company, because that's not flexible. What if we have 5 to 10 bad years? The guy's an agent, a real estate agent. He's got real estate. Welcome to COVID when people can't pay their rent. Now what? What happens if people quit buying houses because we have another housing crisis? He's a realtor. His income isn't any different than my income or your income. He doesn't know how much he's going to make next year. And we're going to slap a $75,000 premium on him? You've got to be kidding me. I will not, he can't even pay his full premium. And he said, well, what do I do with my wife? You're going to buy some cheap term insurance because we need to fill policy 1 up before we start policy number 2. That's great that they want to do business with me. I'm ecstatic about that. But we're going to do some term insurance because we cannot take money and put it into another policy and then have to fill another one up. For what, another 10 grand a year? Now we've got $85,000 a year going out of pocket? And we don't even know if we've got it to pay? No, we can't do that. Well, we can, but I won't. Dad, on the other hand, has all kinds of money and doesn't quite get why we would be using a policy instead of just buying rental properties with cash. He has got 3 very lucrative businesses. So he's got plenty of cash. Why would we put money in the policy? He is super smart by setting everything up as a corporation. He's made the kids the owners. He's selling some of the businesses off to the kids. But the long-term estate plan is not really there. We are thinking next generation, but not the following generation. And we really need to think long term. So if we use, and his thing was, well, if I put it in the policy, then I borrow from the policy, now I have to pay interest to the insurance company. Why wouldn't I just pay cash? Well, because the money is interrupted. And so we don't want to pay cash because it's interrupted, which I won't even get on that soapbox just yet. It's coming. If you want to hear a soapbox tonight, stay tuned. But what happens, and the reason we're using the policy is for a few things, for a few reasons. One, uninterrupted compound interest guarantees. It's guaranteed to grow every single year. It will never go backwards. Liquidity of money, you get to access it whenever you want. Control of the payback terms, okay? Dad said to me, why wouldn't I said this is the only tool that allows us uninterrupted compound interest. He said, no, it's not. A CD will do that. So a CD, what he's saying is that if you have a CD at the bank, now you go to the lender's office and say, I'm going to collateralize my CD against my loan I took from you. Okay. For those of you that are listening that have Nelson's book, and this is in Nelson's book, not my book. This is why you need both books. If you turn to page, I have the wrong page number in my head. He has a scenario in his book with twin sisters, page 45. If you turn to page 45, it's this illustration right here. I don't know how to use my camera. That is going to show you the difference between a life insurance policy and a CD. The CD will outperform the life insurance for 14 years. At year 15, the life insurance starts to outperform the CD. Because this is what people did way back when. Well, it wasn't even way back when, it was in the 80s. Is they would put money in a CD and then they would borrow from the bank. So their CD was earning uninterrupted compound interest. Okay? So who are we paying interest to then? We went to the bank and borrowed money. So we're paying interest to the bank. Who is making the profit on that interest? The bank. Who gets the profits who gets the dividends from the profits? The bank owners, not you. They didn't nicely give that to the guy that owns the CD. Who controls the payback terms on the CD? The bank. You took a loan from them, they get to control that. When you pay money back on your loan from the bank, let's say that you have a $50,000 CD and you've paid back $10,000. Do you get to borrow against the $10,000 that you was released in your CD? No. You don't get access to your CD until all $50,000 is paid back. In a life insurance policy, if you pay $10,000 back, you get access to borrow against it again in 7 to 10 days. Okay, with my company. Not all companies, some are 30, some are 90. A CD is not. Yeah, it might earn uninterrupted compound interest, right? It might, because, well, it should, because we're not interrupting it. We go to the bank. So he's right in the aspect that it's earning uninterrupted compound interest, but we don't have liquidity and we don't have control and we're not getting a dividend. And Nelson shows on page 45, the dividend is the only difference in his illustration between the CD and the policy. And the dividends will start to outperform. That is why we want to use a mutual company that pays dividends. This wasn't something Nelson just said, oh, I like those companies. No, there's a reason why. Because we want to own the bank. If you understand what we're saying, and I talk about being the banker a lot in my Life Without the Bank book. Nelson talks about it a lot in his book. We want to own the bank. We want to be the banker for a reason, because we have the liquidity of money, we have the control, we get the dividends, we have the guarantees. Those are all things we get. So does a rate of return matter? Does a dividend matter? Very little, very, very little, because if we can compound something, let's put it there and compound it and have access to it. And he said during our meeting, I didn't even say it, he said it. He said, this is a but and asset, but I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this, right? I can put it here, and I can buy real estate, and I can start a business, and I can buy cattle. This is typically a very hard concept for cash people to understand, because of the fact that everything is done with cash. I'm done. I've made my payment. I've bought whatever it is I'm going to buy. I'm good. I don't owe anybody anything. Hence the problem. You actually owe yourself something, and you just stole from yourself. What do you mean you're going to take money from savings and not pay it back? Why? If you would have put it in a credit card, you would have paid it. If you would have borrowed money from the bank, you would have paid it. Why not pay yourself? Do we want to use the policy for every single loan? Depends who you are, right? Some people want to use the policy for every single loan. I have a client that said, I am paying the bank off for my house. I absolutely cannot stand the bank. I am getting rid of them. I don't care if I have a policy loan. And the next person says, no, I don't want a policy loan for anything unless it is a purchase that is going to create cash flow. Apartment buildings, land, cattle, right? No depreciating assets are allowed to be purchased in the policy. Everybody's different. If you listen to my podcast, you heard how annoyed I was with the bank when we bought our property. Next time, if I can help it, I don't care what interest rate I have to pay to the insurance company. I'm not going to the bank. I frankly don't care, because I'm sick and tired of the questions, which is exactly what you guys are sick and tired of, the same questions. So if we are using cash, we want to put our cash somewhere that it earns uninterrupted compound interest. This tool is the only one that allows that, and you remain liquid and in control. Okay, so he was right on one aspect. I'm going to add the other, because a CD is not going to outperform a life insurance policy. If it did, we would be using a CD. All right. I had another client who is farming with her dad, and she's not getting paid to farm with her dad. She has tiny acreage. I want to say like 80 acres or something like that that she's farming. So obviously she's using his equipment. But she's helping him pretty much full time, not getting paid a ton. But her husband, this is interesting because her husband just quit working his full-time job because they're doing well on the, maybe they had more acreage than that. I don't remember. But they were doing well, and they were making a good amount of money that they could live off of. Oh no, her dad, she was not working for free. Her dad was paying her every year. So between the farm income and dad's payment, he could quit his job. He quit his job, then dad comes in and says, I don't think I can pay you next year because I'm not financially doing well. This is important for parents to share this information, because her husband may not have quit his job. Well, she pretty much said he would not have quit his job. So if you have a child working with you, I think you owe it to them to kind of share how much money, how the finances are. If the finances are pretty tight, you might want to share some information like, hey, you might want to keep that job. You maybe don't want to quit. Okay? Because it's a lot easier to keep a job than it is to find a job. Sad, sad. They'll be okay. They're going to be good, but now they have to try to buy the place they're living on that they were renting from mom and dad. Now they got to try to buy it to help dad out financially. So they're kind of in a tough spot as well. Hi, Lynn. How's it going? I talked to a couple people from Wisconsin today. I had another client who was not farming. He works in a farm industry. He is a feed nutritionist, but he is not farming. His mom and dad are not planning, which is driving him crazy because he's got a couple brothers that are farming and nothing planned. Mom and dad won't talk about it, so he's trying to get them to plan and talk about it. He's trying to set himself up so that he can buy the family farm so that they don't lose it. And if nothing else, rent it to the neighbors, but he doesn't want to lose it because he's emotionally attached to it. He's just not out there farming because he's got an off the farm job, and that is where his family needs to be. And we talked a little bit about him. Him and his wife are massive savers. He makes a really good income. And so they have a lot of money in savings, just doing nothing, sitting there waiting for mom and dad's place to come up and available. And mom is 60, I think he said 62 or 65, and she has no intentions to quit working every day. She goes out, works with cows every day, no problem, does not care, says just leave me alone and let me do my job. And so obviously mom is where she loves to be. When we want to take over so badly and they don't want to give up, that's tough. And I don't know that they, in this situation, that they need to give up. He's just saying, just have a plan. Just have a plan so that we all know what's going to happen because there's a lot of kids there, so that we all know what's going to happen because we don't want to lose the farm. Two of them are involved. The other two, there are two other ones that are not involved day to day, but they go out a lot and help. And so there's a lot of family involved there that wants to keep it. And mom and dad just don't want to plan. And what I have found is typically, not always, but typically, if we're over 60, we're a little bit stubborn and stuck in our ways. Occasionally, I will find somebody over 60 that is not, and they're progressive and they want to do things and they're willing to listen, and it's awesome. Because keep in mind, that's going to save the farm. Because what do? We work our butts off to build it, but we do nothing to save it. And I do not know what people are thinking. When they die, they think, oh, this can be no big deal. Let them fight it out. Yeah, they're going to fight it out by selling your land. So why do you get up every day to work and to build it if you're not going to protect it? No one has yet answered that question for me, but I'll wait. Another guy I had, he and his son are farming. He's doing good. He's able to pay for everything. He's leasing the majority of his equipment, which I have to be honest, I am not super familiar with the leases and all the terms and all that kind of stuff, just because I rarely have a client that leases. Almost everybody buys. What's happening with his leases though is, and they all have interest rates attached, so they must be like a lease to own. I couldn't really get a grasp around what's happening there, but between that and the land, his interest rates were astronomical. Like they need to be all refinanced. And so he's going through a refinance and going to try to lower all that stuff, which could save him about 50 to 70,000 a year in payments. Huge, huge, huge. So we will do something with him once he gets all of that organized because he's going through that right now and wants to get that done before planting. But he's doing fine. He, though, is raising seed. And so his cash flow is off and he needs cash flow. So he has cash flow, but the timing of it is off, I should say. So really we need to look at his cash flow and what he's got going on and when so that all those payments can be made. Now, if that money was in a life insurance policy and he was borrowing operating from there, cash flow and timing, well, cash flow would matter, but timing wouldn't matter, right? Because now if he has to carry a note over until he sells, because he's not really getting paid until June in a lot of cases, well, his payments are coming due well before June. So a lot of times it's for him, it's the timing of stuff. So if he refinances, he has more cash flow to carry him through that timing period. And that is important as well. Now, I've seen that a couple times now with people that are growing seed, that the timing is not spectacular. And the bank is having to float them, which is very stressful. But if you have 5, 6, 7, 8% interest rates, good heavens, get your butt into your bank tomorrow and ask them to lower those rates or refinance that loan. You don't have to change the terms on the loan for length. All you have to do is refinance it at a lower interest rate because 5% is super high, super high. There's no reason to be paying that unless you have bad credit. It is so rare for me to see anything over 4. Right now, a lot of people are at 3.5. So 5 is ridiculous. Let's see. I had another client that I met with that he too works off the farm. I had a lot of those this week. Usually I have a theme for the week. Apparently I found my theme. He has an off the farm job that is also very good income. He has very few head of cattle. And the reason that I said, why'd you sell so many? Because dad won't let me rotational graze and does not want to be progressive. So if I can't do what I want to do, there's no point in having the cows. I'm not sure if dad is in a financial hardship or what, but the kid said, I'm buying the land from him so I can do what I want. And he did say that dad had a lot of debt that needs to be taken care of. He's 70. And so he's going to be buying some of that acreage to run his cows on so he can do it the way he wants. And he and dad must have a decent relationship because they can talk about these things. He and his wife also have rental properties in their little town. They're kind of buying up the little town, which I think is awesome, right? Because some of these small towns just need to be revived. And so they're buying up stuff and renting it out, and really, really progressive thinkers, which was super fun to talk to them as well, just to run ideas by them and give them ideas of what they could be doing and all that kind of stuff. But another case where want to be progressive but being held back. And it's crazy how much I see that. But he's just taking the bull by the horns, doing it himself, and then doing some other things off the farm to make some extra cash so that he can pay for those things. Because he too making a lot of money, but in their case, not a lot of savings, like almost nothing in savings because they have not beat Parkinson's law. So the other guy that I was talking about that is working off the farm, making good income as well, they have a ton of money in savings. Everything is paid for, no loans, um, but they are savers. This other couple is not. So we have to beat Parkinson's law if we want to create this pool of money. We have to. Something has to go into the policy. If we've just paid something off, great. Maybe that's what we're going to use. But if we don't have anything, we're going to maybe have to beat Parkinson's law and give up some of our wants and redirect some of those dollars. Okay, I have one left. If you guys have questions or haven't said hi yet, say it now so I see it. Okay. Then I had, this is the last couple I had. Oh, they have a lot. People will typically come in and say, hey, Mary Jo, I've got this crazy situation. And I've seen it before. It's not as crazy as we think because everybody's doing the same thing, remember? This situation, this is now one to beat, my friends. He, in his family, they both have farms on both sides of the family. So his dad passed away, left everything to a trust that he runs, and guess who doesn't know how to run any of it? His siblings. So if something happens to him, nobody knows what's going to happen with the trust because he's running the trust. The trust says of the money that you get, 35% or 30% of it, 25%, sorry, 25% of it goes to his wife, the stepmom. Okay, so it's not mom. So 25% goes to his wife, and the other 75% gets divided into college funds for the grandkids. Well, that's fabulous, except the grandkids are like 24 to 14. So some of them have already gone to college or not going to go to college, and some of them are so far away. And then this money has to get paid to these grandkids till the youngest one is 27. Well, the oldest ones are already gone or through college or not going to college, or what if they don't go to college? Dad did not think this out, like absolutely did not think it out. Great, he put it in a trust and he said, I want to take care of my grandkids, and how noble of me. But while we do that, we're going to break the trust. So any money coming into the trust, we're going to keep it broke. From year to year, there can't be any money left. So if the trust, who is now the 3 kids, if they want to buy land and expand, they can't because all the money has to go to the grandkids. Then once the youngest one is 27, the youngest grandchild is 27, now that money can be kept in the trust. No specific, where does the money go? What if they don't go to college? Like, who thought of that? So they basically get to run the trust. So he gets to talk to his siblings, and at least they all get along, which is phenomenal. They all get along and they trust him and all that good stuff. But if you're going to set up a trust and you are going to do some estate planning, please do the estate planning. Like, think about these things, and the person that's administering the trust, how are they going to do that? What do you meant by that? Like, got to be smart about it. And really, even the accountant said, I don't know what the attorney was thinking, because it just does not make sense to anybody. And the son is wondering, what do we do? The farm has been bought with every generation. It was at one point in the family, they owned 6,500 acres. They are now down to 2,500 because it keeps getting split and sold. So if we want to, so the son wants to start buying it all back from cousins so they can get that land back. But the trust has to stay broke. Doesn't make any sense. Does not make any sense. On her side, They farm with her dad now because they knew the mess that was coming on his dad's side, so they left and they went and farmed with her parents or her dad because her parents are divorced. So they went and farmed with her dad, who has a trust, and their family farm has always been passed down to the one that is farming. And guess what? The one that's not farming gets death benefit. For generations, they have been passing on death benefit and using it as an estate plan. So their farm is still 6,500 acres. It's never been split for 5 generations, from what I understand, because they've done it correctly. Now, the thing with her is having to get that moved over before dad ends up in a long-term care facility or something crazy happens on that side. So they're having to push him a little bit faster than what they would like, but they are also concerned about losing it. Another really frustrating thing is they've all had whole life. All of them along the way have had whole life. And a family member who sells life insurance came in and said, "Oh, we've got this indexed universal life, and it's going to be better than your whole life, Dad." And rolled his whole life over to an indexed universal life. It is going to collapse. On the non-guaranteed side, it sounded like it was going to collapse in his mid to late 90s. So, unfortunate if he outlives the policy. So, and he is uninsurable. So now we have to figure out how we're going to save that policy. This couple actually also has life insurance set up by who they said was an IBC practitioner. He is no longer a practitioner. If he ever was, I don't know. I don't know his name. I don't know that I've ever heard of the guy. And I've been to every think tank for 10, 11 years. So anyway, the policy was set up correctly, but they were not putting all the money into it. And so that was just a matter of helping them fill the policies they have and then figuring out what's going to happen with his trust that he and his sisters own. Because in all reality, they're going to have to buy out nieces and nephews. And so that trust needs to have life insurance on the members of the trust or the nieces and nephews, somebody, so that can be bought out over the years. She's already got it. She already pays it on her dad. That succession plan is already there. So theirs was complicated due to having so many. They have an S corp and a C corp, and they have a lot of corporations. They've got the trusts. They've got stepmoms to deal with. And when we start talking about step parents, that gets hairy. Very, very hairy, because that could go good. Like for him and his stepmom, everything's going great. They work with her great. Not sure that that's going to happen on the other side. And I have seen nastiness, pure nastiness from stepmoms with clients that are holding money that the will specifically said needs to be released. So not good at all. So those kind of things make it very nasty. Okay. Here is my last gripe for the day. I'm going to try not to get mad. I was listening to a podcast, and I love to listen to other business owners and just have business development and all that, mindset development and all that kind of stuff. And I really liked these guys until they had 2 guests on who were both Dave Ramsey people. And then I had to stop listening. I had to stop. I'm not going to lie. When I hear the Dave Ramsey guy saying, well, compound interest is good. We need to earn compound interest. People need to understand it. No, my friend, what you need to understand is uninterrupted compound interest. Compound interest is fine until you interrupt it. Uninterrupted compound interest is better, but you can't do that in a 401k. Then he's talking about buying real estate. And he's talking about having some cash flow and making sure that you don't enjoy life and live above your means. Now I talk about that as well for Parkinson's law, right? That we have to create a pool. And these guys are kind of saying the same thing, to create a pool, but we're creating it in an asset we can't have liquidity of. So please, Mr. Dave Ramsey dude, tell me, because I did this. I was the Dave Ramsey fan prior to learning about infinite banking. So please tell me how I can pinch pennies, put money into a 401k that's not liquid, and go and buy real estate for cash flow. Please tell me that. Please tell me how we're going to pay for all of our taxes, because we keep printing money like it's water. And we keep bailing everybody out. Here's a couple thousand, here's a couple thousand. How about we just open up the country so people can work? But no, you tell me to put my money in a 401k, chase some rate of return, and then I'm supposed to have something for retirement that I can bank on? Where's the cash flow? Where's the property that I'm supposed to have? Oh, that's right, I couldn't buy it because my money's in an IRA. And it's at risk and it's being interrupted. Oh my heavens. He had another guest on and I didn't know who she was. And I thought, oh, this is fantastic. I'm going to listen to her. Oh, she's a Dave Ramsey coach as well. Skip that podcast. I've had enough of that for the day. It is unbelievable to me how people that are teaching business owners how to run a business and calling themselves successful are also, and real estate investors, also following Dave Ramsey. I bet they don't have an IRA. I'll bet you they do not have an IRA. I bet you they are pinching pennies and they're sticking it back into real estate, but they are not investing in the market. Because if they're realtors and real estate investors, they're not putting it in the market. They understand cash flow, and we're not getting any cash flow out of an IRA. If we want to create wealth, we need to do that where we have cash flow. And even the one client I talked to today that had their policies already said, this resonated with me when you said cash flow or cash is queen. She said, because we have always been treating cash as king. No, cash flow is king, right? I have a colleague that says cash value is king. Now, I kind of like that. That's pretty awesome. But we can't have any cash value if we don't have any cash flow to be creating the cash value. So make sure that you are thinking about these things. My heavens, liquidity, control, guarantees, uninterrupted compound interest. You can't get that stuff anywhere else but a whole life policy, not an indexed UL, not a universal policy. Don't let anybody talk you out of stuff and chase you to a rate of return. That's absolutely crazy. Absolutely asinine. Like they don't work ever. Ever. I have yet to see one work because most agents do not understand what they're doing. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to leave you with that rant tonight because it just irritates me. And I was there. I get it. I was the one listening to him. I was listening to Susie Orman. If they were on, I was listening. I never got anywhere. For 10 years, I never got anywhere. I saved. I was the biggest cheapskate. My stepkids call me Mr. Krabs. I don't, because I'm cheap. I don't have a problem spending money sometimes, but I can be super frugal. And when I wanted to buy real estate and I was going to do it their way, we were super frugal. We were not able to do things and have money. Now we can buy things and we can have it for retirement. I was saving it all for retirement and trying to buy real estate, and I couldn't do both because there wasn't enough money to do both. I had to choose one or the other. Oh, Lynn, I think you told me to have whiskey last time I got all riled up. Oh, hi, Luke. How are you? Oh, that's awesome. Um, I don't know. That's a good question. If people schedule an appointment, if you go to schedule an appointment with me, I have another agent that I'm training that you can schedule with, John. So if you want to get in sooner, schedule with him. Yep, that's good, Luke. I'm glad that you are enjoying him. He's awesome. I love him. Okay. Um, if you guys have questions, if you need something, you let me know. You can email me, Mary Jo at Without the Bank. You can go to my link Without the Bank because he doesn't have it on Farming Without the Bank yet. So you can go to Without the Bank and get the Life Without the Bank book that is available. Otherwise, I just want to be clear. If you have Wealth Without the Bank, this book is going to be very similar. I retitled it and I wrote it, and it's shorter. It's a much shorter book. It's much more to the point. The other book was good, but it wasn't great. I think this book is much better. I'm not going to say it's great because I'm going to let you guys determine that. If you have not read Becoming Your Own Banker, you need to do that. This book is going to clarify a lot of things, just like the individual that I was talking about that was asking me why I wouldn't use cash. And he didn't believe that I answered his question. Go back and read Nelson's book. And I told him that. I'm like, you need to go back to Nelson's book. All your answers are in there. And I don't need to give them to everybody. I had a client today that said, I reread your book a couple days ago, and it answered a lot of my questions, and it answered a lot of my husband's questions. So even my book, why aren't you rereading it twice or more than twice so that a lot of those questions are being answered? Okay. If you guys need anything, you know where I'm at, maryjo at withoutthebank.com. If you have the book and you've not scheduled your appointment, please do so. You're getting emails. And those emails are probably, if you haven't seen them, they're going to spam. So check your spam. If you need an appointment, you click on there. You can schedule an appointment with me. I am booked out until March. If you need to schedule and you want to get in sooner, you can get on the waiting list, or like Luke met with John, because there's a link there for John. Okay, that's all I have tonight. Gosh, I went an hour again. I always think I'm going to be able to do this faster, and I don't. You guys have an absolutely fantastic week, and I will see you next week. Thank you for tuning in again.